It's time for HawgSports Live from HawgSports.com, a division of 24/7 Sports, presented by Crain Automotive. The Crain team's got 'em. Visit them online at crainteam.com. And now with the latest breaking updates on HawgSports, here's Trey Biddy.
What's up, everybody? Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, HawgSports.com. The first ever meeting between Arkansas and Notre Dame in Fayetteville, Arkansas, marred a little bit by everything that's happened with both of these teams. Notre Dame obviously 1-2 right now, coming off a win against Purdue, and Arkansas dropping each of their last two games in pretty dramatic fashion in a very similar manner. A lot of discussion about Sam Pittman's job security, and it's kind of taken over a little bit of what otherwise would have been a really exciting week. We're going to discuss all of that, everything going on with the Razorbacks, Sam Pittman, all of that stuff. Connor Goodson is going to join us. Kevin Bohannan is going to join us as well. All that and more on today's episode of HawgSports Live, the Notre Dame at Arkansas Primer. The Crain Automotive team has 16 locations across our state and is home to the Crain commitment. You'll find Ford, Chevy, Buick, GMC, Hyundai, Kia, Volkswagen, and access to thousands of pre-owned vehicles. Vehicles for every lifestyle and every budget. Even if you're not in the market for a new vehicle, the Crain team service centers offer the latest in vehicle diagnostic technology and certified technicians to take care of your vehicle and get you back out on the road. Check them out at crainteam.com. HawgSports Live is driven by the Crain Automotive team.
You've done it. Now you're the Crain Cash Champ. You just won big with the Crain team. Go ahead, soak it up. How could you not feel like a winner? You dominated with our low price guarantee, and you got way more for your trade. Plus, with statewide delivery on thousands of vehicles from 16 locations, and the fact that we'll beat any other dealer's price, we make our Kansans feel like champions every day. That's winning. That's the Crain team. Visit crainteam.com.
All right, obviously a lot of discussion about Sam Pittman. We talked a little bit about it on Monday's show. 29-26 at Arkansas since 2021, which makes a 75% buyout amount owed to him, which is roughly over $10 million. We talked about some of the transfer portal implications. Once a coach is terminated, then it opens the door for the transfer portal. But this is an important game for Sam Pittman. Somebody said on our message board, like, what if Arkansas, and I'm not projecting this, but what if Arkansas, I think they're probably more likely to go 4-8 than 8-4 at this point, but what if Arkansas went 8-4 this season and had this turnaround? So what does that look like? That looks like beating, let me bring the schedule up real quick. That looks like beating Notre Dame. Let's go with the home games, basically sweeping the home games. Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Auburn, Mississippi State, Missouri, and then beating one between Tennessee, LSU, and Texas on the road. Now, it's easy to look at stuff, and I make this point every season going into a season because people be like, yeah, I mean, if they won 7 games, I'd be fine with that. But when you're in the moment, when you're living it, the experience is totally different. It's impossible to project how you would feel during losses, projecting it, saying you'll be fine with that, because when it happens, it's unforgivable, unexcusable. How could they do this? What an idiot, all that kind of stuff. So it's also impossible to project how you would feel if Arkansas won every single game in Fayetteville again against that slate of games and then knocked off one of those other teams on the road, Tennessee, Texas, or LSU. I'm not saying that's going to happen at all, obviously. I think it's more likely that they go 4-8. Every team on the schedule, I think, probably has a really good chance to beat Arkansas, every remaining team. And we don't know if Arkansas has let go of the rope or not. I don't think that they have, but I did hear someone say this morning that, that's one thing about Sam Pittman, his teams haven't let go of the rope. But, I mean, I can remember them letting go of the rope. I can remember them losing 48-10 to Auburn in a game that they clearly did not want to be a part of. And then getting smoked this was at home, against Missouri, which was a good team. And maybe they had some business beating Arkansas, not beating them 48-14 like they did. But it's happened before. I mean, it's happened before. I'm not saying it is. I think a lot of these players will fight for Sam Pittman. It's just a question of when it comes down to the decisions and the key moments in the game, making your opponents pay for mistakes. We talk about that all the time. People always say, they didn't beat us, we beat ourselves. No, what happened was you made mistakes and they made you pay for them. And that is what has happened with the last couple of games. That is all this game is. It's all this game is. Making mistakes and them making you pay for it. The team that does the best at making you pay, and the team that makes the fewest mistakes, obviously, is the team that wins the game. That's all this game really is, making your opponent pay for the mistakes. And Arkansas has paid dearly for each of the last 2 games by fumbling the ball. That's what it's about. So looking at Notre Dame real quick, is that where I want to go? Yeah, let's look at Notre Dame real quick. Quick look at them. So, and again, this line, depending on where you look on Bet Saracen, it's Arkansas +4 right now, and you may just, how is that possible? Well, because Arkansas a lot of times has played right up to the level of their opponent. You can look at the history of Arkansas, and I mean, even that terrible year where they went 4-8 a couple years ago. I mean, they lose at home to a bad BYU. They go on the road and play LSU to within 3 points. Who was number 12 in the country and had a Heisman Trophy quarterback and played really well on defense in the first half of that one. I mean, you lose to you go on the road to Alabama and lose by 3. You lose by 3 to Ole Miss, you lose by 7 to Ole Miss, and then you come back and play a 7-3 game against a horrible Mississippi State team. Somebody was asking, like, what do I think the worst losses under Sam Pittman are? And they bring up the Liberty loss and the Memphis loss because they're G5s. That Mississippi State team was terrible. And to play 7-3 against them is that was one of the all-time worst games that I've ever experienced. So, yeah. And plus it's circle the – it's either we let go of the rope here, it's over, or it's circle the wagons. We're still very early in the season. And if it's circle the wagons, then I'm not so sure that they can't give Notre Dame a decent game. And that is one thing that I've said about Sam Pittman in the past versus Chad Morris. Chad Morris, they just get their ass kicked in the first quarter and the stadium would empty out. At least we're watching football games and getting our heart broken in the fourth quarter. I mean, at least there's that. And I've told people before to enjoy football. You wait so long. There's so much work that goes into it, as a fan and as a player, coaches, all that stuff. And then to just like kind of bail on football early, like, yeah, they're not good enough. They're not where they should be as a football program, but it's still football and it's still fall Saturdays. It's still tailgating, it's still spending time with the kids, spending time with your friends, living and dying on every play. It's human. There's nothing more human encapsulated into 3.5 hours than a football game, the highs and lows, emotions that you experience. Don't be numb to it. I think when you have experiences like Arkansas has and you're frustrated and you're pissed and I'm right there with you, man, when things go well, it sure does make it a little sweeter. Chris Ash, to me, is one of the most overrated coaches in the country. What has this guy done exactly? Like, he was at Wisconsin a couple of years. They had some success. He comes to Arkansas in 2013, and they're terrible on defense. He leaves Arkansas for Ohio State to take a co-defensive coordinator job. Congratulations, Ohio State was good on defense. Then he goes to Rutgers to be a head coach. He gets, 16, 17, 18, 19, just 4 years there. 2-10, 4-8, 1-11, 1-3. So didn't even make it 4 years. I don't mean to just hate on the guy, but like, what has he done? Then he goes to Texas as an analyst, and he's defensive coordinator in 2020 under Texas, a team that wasn't very good. Obviously, in 2020, we saw that same team in 2021, but he was gone. 2022, he's with the Raiders. He's with Jacksonville, and then the Raiders as a secondary coach. And now he's at Notre Dame on defense, a team that was elite on defense last year. And now they're giving up a bunch of points. It's like, what has this dude done to deserve all these jobs that he's gotten? He was one of those guys when you'd interview him and he'd be like, are we sucking on defense? Yes. Is it my fault? I don't know. Like, he would always ask questions to himself, I always thought that was kind of funny. So looking at Arkansas's offense versus the Notre Dame defense, scoring defense, Notre Dame's given up 32.7 points per game. That's tied for 117 nationally. We're talking about, 131 teams or so. Almost 400 yards per game allowed, 101. Rushing defense, 109.3 yards per game, which is actually, it's fairly solid number there. Passing defense has been really bad, 130, 289.3 yards per game. That's Arkansas 2024 territory, 2023 territory, 2022 territory. Yeah, 2022 territory, where Arkansas gave up 396.4 yards per game and ranked last nationally. Third downs, actually pretty decent on third down. Arkansas has been fairly decent on third downs offensively at 61.9%. That's sixth nationally. Red zone defense, 90.9%. That's 92nd. Not a great takeaway team so far. Only 3 on the season. Only 4 sacks on the season, which ranks 105 nationally. None of these numbers are good. They're 90s to 130 in most categories. Pretty much everything except for rushing defense and third down D. They're 90 to 100 on every major category defensively. There's been a lot made of Brandon Marcello's comments that Bobby Petrino has been working the phone lines. Frank Fletcher went on Morning Mayhem and said that's not true. Brandon does a great job reporting, but not everybody's right. Somebody went in my comments today. He's like, "What you said that Danny Saili's going to be a breakout player? What's that?" I don't know if I said breakout, but I think I definitely said I think he was going to be a good player. I definitely said that. He's a lot better player than he was last year. But, if you're expecting me to bat 1,000 guys, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to nail everything. If I did, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys right now, cranking out another one of these. DJ Williams, this was interesting. I actually happened to catch DJ's show on 4th and 5. I don't want to say this too, because I see a lot of comments stuff. There's a lot of good podcasts out there about Arkansas. You can watch all of them. You don't have to be not ever mention them. I watched DJ's 4th and 5 stuff, his film breakdowns. And anyway, Bishop Russell got on Facebook and just ripped DJ a new one about his comments about Braylon Russell. And, I was curious about that too. I don't think DJ said anything inflammatory, but parents can obviously get upset when you're talking about their kids. Welcome to covering Arkansas Razorbacks, DJ. I mean, you've been doing it a while, but when you get into kind of some of these things, man, parents, there's great parents out there. I have had relationships and still have relationships with parents of former players that I cherish, and plenty that I love. I've also experienced parents that kind of go off the deep end, kind of like this. There was one time that I'm reminded of. So I had written this breakdown of this player, and I'm just like, well, this guy, he's got this attribute. I like this, what I see about him, just all good stuff. And then, I said at some point, he's not quite the height that he's listed. He's not quite that height. And man, in my DMs, I get a message from this player's, one of his parents, and they're like, haters gonna hate, all this stuff, just blasted me. And I'd said all good stuff. All I said was, in my experience, somebody's listed at 6'2", they're probably 6'0". It's a very popular roundup number. Yeah, I put my shoes on, and I'm 6'1.5". So, round up to 6'2". I mean, I'm a little over 6 foot. I'm about 6, but now I'm probably closer to 6 foot and a quarter. I used to be about 6'1.5" or so. So I always measure people on the eye-to-eye deal. Because 6 foot is probably the most popular height to round yourself up to. A lot of 5'10", 5'11" saying I'm 6 foot. And sometimes you don't appear that way, so I get up close. For me, I have this 18.5-inch unproportional neck and these majestic broad shoulders, so sometimes you don't appear. Sometimes you don't appear at your height. But anyway, I had said that, and then that player entered the transfer portal and or was going to enter the portal or something, or was leaving. I can't even remember. But, I just maybe speculated a little bit and get a DM. It's just you're going to, if you mention this, my son's name again, you're going to hear from our attorneys. I went to Arkansas. I was like, man, this person's all over me. I'm not surprised by any of that. But anyway, you can imagine And I wish the best for the guy. He's not in football anymore, obviously, but I just was like, you can imagine my chuckle when I look on there and I see at his new school, he's listed an inch shorter than he was at Arkansas. And then transferred to Division II, never did anything. But anyway, I'm the hater on that. So welcome, DJ. It happens a lot. I thought that was really out of line, though. But you're going to get that kind of stuff. I mean, it just is. And people, I would probably be just as pissed if somebody was said anything about my kid. And I'm just like, how could you say that? I understand as a parent where they come from. Trust me. Maybe going on Facebook is not the best path there. So anyway, this is obviously, there's people coming out with coaching search hot boards and all kinds of stuff for Pittman. Is it a rally the troops type of moment right now? Is that what we're coming up on? Is it a situation where Arkansas lets go of the rope? That's the big question with this whole game coming up. Notre Dame obviously is backs against the wall also. They came off a nice win against Purdue. They lost a couple of games already. This is the first time in a decade that Notre Dame has played 4 straight major conference teams. Now, they've got some injuries. Leonard Moore is out. All-American cornerback, one of the best cornerbacks to come through there in years. Alabama transfer nickel Devontae Smith, and North Carolina transfer kicker Noah Burnett. Now, the thing with Smith and Burnett, the backups are pretty young with those. I think it's actually a pretty decent drop-off. And I think the same deal with Leonard Moore also. So that's definitely something to watch. Some differences obviously with quarterback. Last year they had a guy that was basically a linebacker playing quarterback. And, this year, a little bit different with a redshirt freshman. Jeremiah Love is obviously an interesting guy to watch. What's interesting about Jeremiah Love, he had his first 20-carry game the other day. Where is that? So Jeremiah Love, the running back, he had 23 carries for 94 yards against Texas A&M. That's the first time he's had a 20-carry game. Now, he had 19 for 157 against Purdue. This is a guy that ran for like 1,300 yards last season, 1,100 yards. And really did it over, 13, 14, 15, 16 games? Well, 12, 14, 15 games, excuse me. So, that's obviously a lot of games. But generally, he's a guy that's getting like 10 to 15 carries. It's not like he's a 25 carry type of back. CJ Carr is 49 of 27 right now for 737 yards, 66.2%, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks. I want to get to Connor Goodson. Connor, if you're ready, give me a thumbs up. He's just looking. There it is. All right, let's go to Connor Goodson because he's done some breakdown on this kind of stuff. Connor, how's it going?
What's up, Trey?
For those of you who don't follow Connor, you can follow him at Connor Goodson on X, CONNOR Goodson on X, and read all of his content at HawgSports. Says football for us and is our primary basketball guy as well. Connor, you've looked at this team pretty in depth on both sides of the ball. What do you take away? Let's start with offense. What is your takeaways with this offensive unit?
Well, for the Notre Dame offense, obviously you can't not talk about their backfield of Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, right? Number 24. We were talking to some of the players this week, and obviously Pittman, they all highlighted the backfield and how they're going to have to key on those guys. And those guys are really talented. They have been a two-headed monster, thunder and lightning kind of duo there. But when you look at Notre Dame, their offense, they're really kind of middle of the road right now statistically when you look at them. Obviously CJ Carr, experienced guy, won the quarterback job. Marcus Freeman has a lot of confidence in this dude, but nothing that is like, when you think of Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, that kind of gets you to sit up a little bit and you're a little concerned about what he's going to do to your defense. You don't really get that with this Notre Dame team. They're just, they're going to line up, try to run it, establish the run game. And if you're not physical enough, that they've had their way with teams so far this season. And even going back to last year, they weren't an electric offense, but they were just kind of middle of the road, good enough. And then they let their defense kind of do the rest and really keep them in games where their offense struggled. Defense, I heard you talking about Chris Ash, doesn't really it doesn't really scare you if you're Arkansas and Bobby Petrino. There's a lot of opportunities, especially with their struggles with explosive plays. You're looking at, I think they gave up 7 explosives against Purdue and then 8 against Texas A&M. Pass plays of 15 plus yards. I mean, that's a really good big area that Arkansas can, I think, exploit, especially if Taylor Green's confident. You got to get Taylor Green's confidence going early and make sure he's accurate. But I really like that matchup with Arkansas's offense and Notre Dame's defense.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the other side of the ball?
Yeah. A little less confident there.
Yeah.
I just, man.
Being at home, though, matters, though, Connor. I mean, like, if Arkansas hasn't let go of the rope, which there's absolutely that possibility that, because that's one of the narratives that I talked about going into the season, why I said Arkansas could go 4-8 or they could go 8-4, because it depends on how these first 4 games go so much. You build the momentum. You believe in this coaching staff. 4-0 was on the table to open up. It was on the table. And if you get that, just a couple of different plays go couple of different ways, you have more buy-in, belief. This coaching staff knows what they're doing. They're promised to me when I came here has played out, all those kinds of things, versus, you go 2-2, and it's maybe a little bit different 2-2 than one we thought, because it was right there. But
Right.
sometimes you get finger pointing, you lose that buy-in, you lose that belief, and you start hearing stuff about your coach being fired, and you start thinking, who's my next coach going to be? Do I enter the transfer portal? All that kind of stuff,
Trey, is it not crazy how the margin between where we are right now, the chaos and uncertainty, and pure nirvana of 4-0, how razor thin that margin is? I mean, is that not just insane?
Yeah, we would have been making all kinds of, plays at, well, the defense could do this, they can get it together, and if they can just do this, and now it's just like, everybody's like, who's the next coach going to be?
Yeah, I mean,
everybody's pissed at Sam, everybody's pissed at Hunter. Nobody seems really happy right now, and it's a couple of plays, and that's football. It's typical of Arkansas that it's just a couple of plays, and again, it's not. Arkansas made mistakes, and Ole Miss and Memphis made them pay. It's a bottom line.
Yeah, and you look back at Sam's tenure, and that's just kind of how the last 5 years have been. You can even go back further before he was here, and that's just kind of how it's been in recent history. But really, if you want to encapsulate Sam's tenure here, the last 5-6 years, that's just how it's been. A couple plays, and we could be looking at his whole coaching tenure and era at Arkansas completely different, just 180 from where we are now, and it sucks. I mean, you go back to last year, I think back to the Tennessee game after the euphoria wore off, the crowd gets off the field, they go home, you sober up a little bit. You're just like, man, what if they would have taken care of business in Stillwater? How different this would have been this first half of the season. It's just it sucks because,
well, that's another prime example game, Connor. I mean, like, Oklahoma State sucked last year. They won 3 games, one of them being Arkansas, and Arkansas had it in the bag, and they let it slip away. It's like, how many mistakes do we need to make here to lose a close game? Let's make them. And that's what happened. You can say, well, fumble is a random occurrence stuff, but it's always something. It's always something. I was listening to something about DJ, or was it on DJ? I can't remember, but they were basically saying, like, Braylon Russell, has never fumbled. Like, maybe he should be in the game at the end. Look at Notre Dame offense. It's not bad, obviously. 26 nationally in scoring offense. Total offense is 52nd, 426 yards a game, 40 points per game. There's a reason that this betting line is 64. I want to get you out with this, Connor. What do you think about how this game is going to play out? You got a score prediction?
I'm still working on my score prediction because the signs point to this being just a shootout and it being 40-41, 42-41, something crazy up in the 40s, and then usually in these kinds of situations you end up with a 20-10 game or something weird like that where the defenses just play out of their minds. But I don't see that happening. I'm still going to lean towards it being more of a shootout. I kind of lean towards Notre Dame winning like 45-42, something like that. It's just, I just don't trust this Arkansas defense. And I know a lot of Arkansas fans feel the same way. And I think that the offense is going to come out, and I think that they've got a bad taste in their mouth, and they want to kind of prove that they can get back on track. But it's just hard for me to put confidence in the defense to get stops when they need to and really pull this out.
It's a big over under. Chip Patterson, I know at CBS, really, he said he's pounding the over, and it sounds like you're going to as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a safe bet, but who knows? I'm not the best bettor, so it might not be as safe.
All right, everybody. Appreciate Connor Goodson joining us. Appreciate you, Connor.
Appreciate you, Trey.
And I wanted to mention also Connor joined us, and Kevin Bohannan will be joining us here in just 1 second on the Ozarks Go hotline. You can reach out to them if you need internet service or you're interested in changing your internet service at 479-684-4900, ozarksgo.net/hawg. That's HAWG. Find out if they're available in your area. But think Northwest Arkansas, think parts of Oklahoma, think north of the tunnel. And when you call them or you reach out to them and you ask about that stuff, you're going to talk to somebody local because it is a local company and they know all the things that you're asking them about. Reliable internet service, several different tiers, and I have had nothing but good things to say about them because it works. And I like having Ozarks Go as a sponsor because I believe in them. I was using them before they were even a sponsor. So appreciate Ozarks Go for sponsoring the segment. Thanks, Connor.
Always a pleasure, Trey.
All right, everybody. Let's hop on with Kevin Bohannan now. Kevin, I know you are in a bit of a rush, but you've been looking at this game also, kind of breaking some things down, asking your 5 questions and whatnot.
Yeah. It's in the preseason, I thought this would be a 27-20 game. Obviously, we thought the defense would be a little bit better. We knew Notre Dame was going to be really good in the backfield with Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price. They're the best tandem backfield in the nation. Price is ranked number 1 by Pro Football Focus, or number 2, and I think Jeremiah Love is ranked number 5. That's a lot of praise right there. So what they did last week to Purdue, and Barry Odom's team has a long way to go. They just ran it down their throat. They did what they wanted to. I did like Purdue's first score of the game. It was a pretty neat trick play. They just ran an inside zone at the middle, and the running back stopped. The quarterback ran a swing route, and he was wide open. I'm like, I haven't seen much of that before. We've seen the Philly fake, whatever it was called.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a little different right there. So it's like the same every week, Trey. It's starting to feel like Groundhog Day. And you and I talked about this last week. If the defense doesn't show up, it's just going to be how perfect can they be perfect? Yep. And that's one of the things we talked about this week in the 5 burning questions.
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem, Talon looks like a Heisman Trophy quarterback sometimes, and then when he hits a lapse, it seems to last for a couple of series.
6 passes too. Yeah,
it's just like, let me lock on to Omega Blake. We talked about that. The interception, how big that was in the game that he threw when he had wide open Jaylen Brown over the middle. But 2 plays before that, there's Omega Blake. Coming across the field, and he forces it to him there and was almost intercepted.
Yeah.
It's like it's just like he hits a stretch where – and I feel like sometimes with Arkansas, like it maybe happened against Oklahoma State, against Memphis, and we've seen it in other games where they act, and I can see in their body language the way they're celebrating, like, we got the game, we got it won. And I'm just like, a lot of times like there's 2.5 quarters left to play, guys.
Yeah. And especially this season, it has seemed like the lull has been in 2 very important parts of the game. The last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 of the second. Coaches preach about that all the time. If we can win that last part and come out hot in the second half, they'll be good. And it just hasn't happened. I counted the other day, he missed 5 passes in a row, just like he did against Arkansas State, just like he did against Ole Miss. He had that little lull where he went 8 of 16. Mm-hmm. He ended up at the end of the game was a little bit better his completion percentage, but he just gets locked in. And I wonder if that's a result of Petrino scripting the first 10, 15 plays and then going by gut, by feel, because and I know Petrino's done it in the past where he likes to script. So just to see what the defense is going to give him, it's going to be a lot different this weekend. Memphis through the kitchen sink and the garbage disposal at Arkansas last week on defense.
Yeah, so, I think a lot of it is the scripting part of it, obviously. But and Petrino, like, for those who don't know exactly how it kind of works, like, he's staying 3 plays ahead, basically. Like he's thinking 3 plays, like what they have coming up next. But obviously you don't relay that to the quarterback because you want it, 1 play at a time. Penalties, turnovers, special teams, injuries, decision-making in key moments, obviously like capitalizing also. I should maybe just change that just to key moments because and it's also I say this all the time too about making your opponent pay for the mistakes and stuff. Those are always the keys to victory. But which defense will make enough stops to win this game? Both defenses have been bad this year. So it could come out to which one. And Notre Dame's a little different, with C.J. Carr versus Riley Leonard last year. As I mentioned, he's more like a linebacker. Like, it's 3rd and short, then they got a good option with him. And they were converting a high clip of those games. So a little bit different with a redshirt freshman quarterback who was very highly recruited.
Absolutely. And, he has the bloodline. And Notre Dame and Coach Denbrock, the offensive coordinator, came from LSU. So he has a little experience with SEC schools. And they said that they may have some packages for the backup quarterback who lost out to C.J. Carr in the preseason, which could be some wildcat packages. It could be those short yardage situations. Notre Dame's running it a lot. I mean, they should with Price and Love back there. So it's just a matter of, Marcel Reed lit up the Notre Dame secondary. And Reed is not a good passer. Let's not confuse him with any of the Mannings of the world or anything like that. He's a dual threat quarterback that has really good legs. He was 17 of 37 for 360. He just got that ball in the hands of his playmakers, and they went. So 32-7 is what the Notre Dame defense is allowing over the last 2 losses. Arkansas is allowing 36-5. Wouldn't surprise me if the score's in that range. If you get a 38-31 or 37-31, it's just a matter of who's going to make that 1 or 2 stops to get the momentum.
Kevin Bohannan joining us. You can follow him at KBO Baseball Guru. Thanks for putting it on the screen for me, Kevin.
You got it.
On X. He does a ton of great stuff, analysis and breakdowns for football, and is our primary baseball guy as well. I always look at running backs, especially like how they're ranked and stuff. And you mentioned Price and Love, both guys that were like, top 15 running backs in the country in their class. Running back's usually the easiest position to evaluate in football because, like, you can run or you can't, and then you teach them how to pass protect and stuff. But what can Arkansas do to slow these guys down? I mean, obviously there's – what I had worried about with the start with this Razorback defense was the defensive line. Like, maybe they can put out, a quality starting group, but it's about depth. And I think we see some guys are playing too much football up front, and that worries you in the fourth quarter when you need to get Taylor Green on the field and they can just run it up the gut on you.
Absolutely. And Notre Dame has faced either a normal box, which is 5 or 6, 5 being light. It depends on what you're looking at, what the offense is, to a heavy box 72% of the time, I believe. So they're used to seeing that. And the good thing about the Notre Dame offense is the running backs are unselfish. They would get it down to the 1 yard line and they're like, no, stay in, get your 4th touchdown or get your 3rd touchdown. They did a breakdown about that the other day between these 2 guys. On the outside, the receivers block. Jordan Faison was a former walk-on. He won he was the Burlsworth walk-on award of the week winner this past week. So those guys block on the edge. Love got to the outside the other day and was gone, and it was thanks to 2 really good blocks on the outside. The line is pretty good. I don't think they're as good as Arkansas. So it's just about Arkansas dialing up the right run blitzes or making sure they fit their gaps. At the end of the day, Trey, it's just about tackling and play within aggression. It's not complicated.
Yeah. You talked about walk-on. I think about this every once in a while, but Pittman at SEC Media Day said Arkansas will always have a walk-on, kind of as an honor to Brandon Burlsworth and the award and everything. But we're eventually going to 105 scholar. We're at 105 maximum roster limit now. They've lost 15 players. They've cut that number out. But we're eventually going to go to 105 on scholarship, like other teams across the country have done. Yeah, other conferences have done that. So what does that look like? So you have a 105 roster limit. You can have 105 on scholarship, but they're going to put 104 on scholarship, and they're going to tell one guy that you can't have the scholarship that we have available.
But we're going to pay for everything, but you're going to be our honorary.
Just because
that's
like the myth of amateur athleticism, trying to make that seem better than pro. You know, like,
Yeah,
so getting paid's better than not getting paid. Okay.
I don't want to be that guy.
So your last two points on this, will Arkansas play with pride against a storied program? As number 4 and number 5 was, has Sam Pittman lost this team? I think that kind of goes hand in hand. What are your thoughts?
It does. And Pittman talked about it this week on the teleconference. We talk about learning how to win every week. And you just said these guys are semi-pros. They're professional athletes now at this point. You're paying guys to come in and do a job. Trey, you're paid to do a job every day. I'm paid to do a job every day. If I don't do my job, I get reprimanded for it. So I stay on my P's and Q's and do my job, and to the best of my ability, keep my head down. If nobody calls me out, I'm good for it. But, when you talk about your defense not giving effort and that type of thing, Alabama A&M scored really quick on their first drive. If penalties hadn't held them back on the drive 2 and 3, they would have scored again. That game would have been a little bit closer going into halftime. And it's like they weren't up for that game. How do you not get up for the season opener? I don't care where you're at. It was D3 at Rhodes College in Memphis like I was, or in the SEC. Get up for every game because you only have 12 of them. You're only guaranteed so many. There is a finite number of games in a year. Notre Dame had 16 last year, so they had to get up 16 times. If you're not able to go on every play, get off the field. Get your other guy on there because there's somebody that's going to give 100%. That's the biggest thing that I wanted to point out at that question 4 is you've got to do that. And with Pittman losing the team, we know where the fan base is right now. It's very divided, and it was divided. Yeah,
they all seem on the same page to me, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, you still have a faction that's going to be at the game, and they just might want to see, how bad it is walking off the field. I don't know, but you got to hold on to the rope if you're a player, because even if, and I say this, and not knowing what's going to happen in the future, you're playing for next year at some point, no matter where you go or where you're at. You have to have good film. If your goal is to play as long as you can in this game, you have to play it at 100% and have film that's going to look like that. You can't have bluffs. You can't be lazy, like DJ Williams pointed out. He has lazy. Some guys have lazy tape. Matt Jones had lazy tape, but he was a performer. So you have to have that. Everything's analytical now. You have to have that breakdown. You have to be able to go full speed, and you're still auditioning for what's next.
Mm-hmm. I love Matt. They back when they used to run gassers and stuff after practice. He would be last, backs and receivers, skill guys and quarterbacks. Fastest guy on the team, and he would be the last guy on the gasser. Yeah. But that was Matt. I mean, that's just personality. It's one of the things that made him so good. Also. Yeah.
No, nothing ever. I met Matt. It was crazy, Trey. But he was a sophomore at Van Buren. I was a senior at Little Rock Mills. And I went up there for a football camp, and it was me, Zach Clark, Austin Shy from Bentonville, Tad Farmer from Bryant. The 99 class was loaded with quarterbacks that year. And then there's this 6'5", 170-pound lanky dude that turns in like a 4.4. And I'm like, who in the world was that? And got to know Matt pretty well at that point. Got to see him when he was at Arkansas. So one of my favorites of all time. Even though we're close in age, it's still a lot of fun to think back to what he did at the University of Arkansas.
All right, K-Bo. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
You had a busy day. All right, everybody. That's Kevin Bohannan. Follow him at K-Bo Baseball Guru on X. Does a great job for us. Whoops, that was the wrong graphic. I want to mention our friends over at Blakeman's because, and I had an image of this, but it didn't. I couldn't get the file to go, but they have Prosecco, Blakeman's Fine Jewelry. They sell Prosecco, and it's going to be in all the suites at the Razorback game this weekend. So that's Blakeman's gift to you. It's available at several retailers up here in, I guess, in Northwest Arkansas, but it's available. It's the bottle is actually really cool. Like if you're somebody that likes to put bottles on display, like I've got one of those. I like bourbon, and I've got some bottle of bourbon that's super fancy, but the bourbon is terrible. This isn't the case with Blakeman's Prosecco. It's really good, and it's got a really cool bottle also, cool label and all that stuff. So people that are being the suites this weekend will get a free bottle of that. Blakeman's Fine Jewelry is Arkansas's home for fine jewelry since 1987, built on tradition. It's been Northwest Arkansas's trusted destination for exceptional jewelry and personalized service. Visit them at their brand new location, 3202 Pinnacle Hills Parkway, Rogers, Arkansas, 72758. Blakeman's Fine Jewelry, where Arkansas gets engaged. And guys, you're thinking about popping the question, she probably would like to have a summer wedding, late spring, something like that. So it's time. If you're going to be in town this weekend, might as well check out the store. There's nothing like it in Northwest Arkansas, what they have over there at Blakeman's, the official jeweler of the Razorbacks. They also provide jewelry for the homecoming court and all that stuff too. Pretty cool. Do we need to get to our picks now? So last week, Bet Saracen, time for the wager wagon. I need some kind of galloping horses or something to go with this. Last week in our picks, we went 1-3-1. So we took it on the chin a little bit. We're 12-7-1 overall this season and 3-1 picking Razorback games. There's some great games this weekend. Tennessee, I like them at -7.5 at Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State is dramatically improved. A prime example of why I always say don't judge a coach on his first year, but I don't think that this is a year 3 type of situation under a coach where they maybe take a huge step forward, more competitive, but it is a tremendous leap forward for Mississippi State right now. But I do like Tennessee at -7.5. This is an important game for Mississippi State at the same time, so I kind of waffle back and forth, but I do like Mississippi State is covered in 10 of their last 12 balls and 3-1 versus the spread this year, and Mississippi State's 4-0, so something's kind of got to give in this one. But look at what Mississippi State has. We think Arkansas' schedule is tough. About to find out who they really are. They get Tennessee at home this weekend. They're at Texas A&M. They're at Florida. They get Texas at home. They're at Arkansas. They get Georgia at home. They're at Mizzou, and then they play Ole Miss at home. That is a lot of ranked teams on that lineup, and they're obviously they need to probably get this win against against Tennessee to get to 6-0, but Tennessee's got a lot of firepower, so I'm taking the Vols in that one. Georgia -3 versus Alabama. Both teams coming off of a bye. Georgia is 0-3 versus the spread this year. Bama is 3-1. Georgia has been the betting favorite. Two class of 2022 quarterbacks. Ty Simpson was number 4 in the country on 24/7 Sports. Gunnar Stockton was number 7 in the country that year. Alabama has won 2 straight and 9 of the last 10 against Georgia. I'm taking the dogs in this one. I'm taking the dogs at -3 at home. I think they'll have enough to get it done. Great game. It looks like a great one. Ole Miss is -1.5 versus LSU. I like Ole Miss in this one. LSU has a great defense, but only have scored 17, 23, and 20 points in their games this season, aside from the 56-10 win over Southeast Louisiana. Ole Miss has been great on offense, put up 63. They only put up 30 on Kentucky, 41 versus Arkansas. And they put up 45 on Tulane also. Ole Miss is 2-0 against LSU in Oxford under Kiffin. And 2 years ago, they won a 55-49 shootout. I like Garrett Nussmeier as a person. I like the fact that he stuck around. He stuck to his guns. You could have left LSU plenty of times and didn't. But I also think he's kind of overrated. I don't think he's as good a quarterback as people think. So I'm taking Ole Miss at -1.5. And underlying storyline, Lane Kiffin's daughter, I guess it was announced this week, is dating Whit Weeks, the LSU linebacker. That's kind of an interesting dynamic. I think Lane Kiffin tweeted something out, was like, take the over when that picture was put out, which, Lane Kiffin's hilarious on social media. Utah State +22.5 at Vanderbilt. I'm taking Utah State in this one. Utah State, they're not Georgia State, which Vanderbilt throttled. They beat Air Force, lost to A&M. Utah State lost by A&M by 22. Diego Pavia, who I really like, obviously. I just think Vanderbilt might chill a little bit here. They're 4-0 this season against the spread. So I like Utah State at 22.5 against Vanderbilt, even though Vanderbilt's obviously really turned a corner. has been really good. And then Notre Dame at Arkansas. Notre Dame is a 4-point favorite. Notre Dame has covered in 12 of their last 14. Arkansas is 1-9 against the spread at home since 2023. I could see it going both ways, man. I really could, because I think the players, there's a chance that they fight for Sam Pittman. At the same time, there's so many new players on this team, so many, new relationships and stuff. It is a home game for Arkansas. That absolutely matters. I don't know why we have to do a stripe out for every single notable opponent on the schedule. Why can't we just do a regular deal? Why has it always got to be a stripe out? Why is that? I wouldn't mind seeing like a whiteout or something, but why can't it just be a regular deal? Anyway, I'm taking Notre Dame, I think, -4. I don't feel super confident in that. I think it could come down. I think Notre Dame is going to win the game. I just know that it could also come down to, a field goal. Or it could be like, just getting slammed at home. And then if that happens, then, Bet Saracen is Arkansas's #1 sports betting app.
It's a fine barbecue, Joe.
My own secret recipe.
Where's Super Sid? I got him on the FaceTime.
Where you at, Sid?
Hey, I'm in Milwaukee at the Bucks game.
How are they playing?
They're pretty good. They just need to get healthy.
Speaking of playing, what's shaking at Bet Saracen?
Oh, great offers, Pat. Like for new players to Bet Saracen, they'll get $125 to use for new bets.
Gotta love Bet Saracen.
All right, let's check out some questions from Razorback fans. Smiling Assassin's Creed. What's the first domino to fall? A coordinator, head coach, or AD? It's usually going to be a head coach. I mean, it's a bye week, so a lot of stuff could happen, but usually a head coach. And nobody hopes that things turn around more than me. I just don't see it. They really needed to win that Memphis game. Like, they could have lost the Ole Miss game, and it wouldn't have been heads rolling type of discussion. It would have been, man, that was a tough loss, but they took care of good business against Memphis. They went up 18 and wrapped it up and got out of there. That could have been the discussion, but you just can't. The score matters. You can't lose to Memphis when you're on the hot seat. You just can't. When Pittman lost to Liberty, I made the point then, it's like he lost some supporters that he'll never get back. And it's the same thing with Memphis. And that you see that people talk about that all the time. Like, I used to be a Pittman supporter, I wanted him to win and all this stuff, but I can't sit idly by anymore. Arnold Ziffel says, that's that pig on Green Acres. Does CSP make it past either a win or a loss against Notre Dame bye week coming up? A win, you can't fire Sam Pittman if he beats Notre Dame. I'm sorry, you just can't. I mean, how would that look to anybody, to any potential candidate even? No. If he beats Notre Dame, then you don't. Story of the Year says, what do you expect the atmosphere to be like Saturday? I think it'll be great. I've seen people say don't go to the game, boycott the game and stuff. I don't like that. At the end of the day, I won't miss an opportunity to see Notre Dame and Fayetteville, but I don't expect the rest of the fan base to feel this way. It's also what bow season starting up. Danny West might know better than me on that. I picked golf a long time ago over hunting. I feel like you got to pick one or the other as a married man. But with a family, a grown man with a family. But yeah, I think it'll be a great atmosphere. It's 11 o'clock, so it's not going to be a 6 o'clock type of atmosphere, but it should be a good atmosphere. It could be the late arriving crowd, as they say. HogWild84 says, do you think they will move Petrino back to the field if the offense keeps having issues in the second half? No, I don't. I mean, I could be wrong. They could do that, but I think that they probably will stick to what they're doing and try to figure out why exactly they're having those issues in the second half. I mean, the secret to limiting Talon is blitzing him. I mean, that's been put on film now. Like, yes, he will make you pay for doing that, but he's also going to make some mistakes. And yeah, if it's like, he's going to make a big play, but he's also going to give us the ball back, then that's what you do. you blitz him. So they got to figure, that kind of stuff out. Blitz, I would hope in practice they have made him scramble a lot and try to avoid the blitz. But Notre Dame's not exceptional on defense, Let's see. Pigsburg Squealer. I haven't seen that name yet. He only has 104 posts, 3 months. Team Money. Team Money. If the defense is running around with concrete feet again this weekend, does Travis Williams live to see Monday? Maybe not. I mean, the defense has been just horrific. Like, they don't play with any enthusiasm or tenacity. I mean, sure, they make a play, and it's just like, and Tweety Birds and all that kind of stuff, but I've been really disappointed with the defense above pretty much anything else. Like, sure, I didn't think they were going to be a great defense, but, like, the effort has been really disappointing. TJ Lindsay says, has all of the recent noise lit a fire into this team, or will they let go of the rope? That's the question. It's one or the other. I don't think there's any in between here. It's hard to say about an 11 a.m. game. I think if it was a night game, I'd feel much better about which team will show up. Possibly, yeah. It's a good question, but there's no way to answer that right now. It's one or the other. Yayo001 says, at what point do you think U of A stopped caring about winning football games? Can't say NIL because it's been longer than that. I don't know, but, Arkansas has been passed by Ole Miss. I mean, in football, it's obvious, like with the records that Lane Kiffin has and stuff. But, man, I'll tell you what, that game day atmosphere in Oxford, I used to say, Oxford was just kind of like not that awesome. I know the Grove is special and all that kind of stuff. Everybody's pretty much got something like that now. But, and they were the first and all that kind of stuff. But, Vaught Hemingway was never a stadium that I just looked at and be like, man, this is a very intimidating place to play. And, it's got all these and this. And, maybe in the concourses and stuff, it's not anything outrageous or special or pretty. But inside the stadium, they got it rocking. They got the lights going. There's a different energy there than has been in the past. And, sometimes I look at Fayetteville and I just think, man, they could take some cues, and I don't know if it's maybe some new blood needs to come in or something like that, but they could take a few cues here and there from some other teams around the country are doing on their game day environment. But yeah, like as far as football, like Arkansas has pretty much every advantage over Ole Miss, although Ole Miss is closer to elite talent than Arkansas, but they also get rated by LSU and Alabama and other schools, two similar sized states, but Ole Miss, Mississippi produces a lot more talent. They've also got Mississippi State inside the state also. As I've mentioned several times, talking with Mark Sutherland, maybe that's an advantage for them having that, so many other fan bases so close to them versus Arkansas doesn't really have to deal with that, at least in the northwest part of the state, not the same on the eastern part of the state, but northwest part of the state, which is maybe got a little bit more funds. Not exclusively. Obviously, there's some well-to-do people over there too, but you know what I mean. The university is right there. But yeah, I mean, stop caring about winning football games. I don't know that they stopped caring. It's just that I don't know. It's been real disappointing, like what has happened with the NIL situation when Arkansas had such an opportunity in front of it to level the playing field, and all we can talk about is integrity. Chad Razorback says, if Arkansas embraced NIL like it should have, what SEC schools outside of Texas would have been able to outspend us? I have a hard time believing. So another thing, like, Alice Walton, and she's been great to Northwest Arkansas. What they've done in Bentonville, building that Walmart campus and all that stuff is outrageous. I mean, it's incredible. But having a successful football program, it lifts all boats. It really does. We pointed out several times that that Alabama has like more national merit scholars that enroll in their school than anybody in the country because of what the football program has been. Their housing prizes from when Saban got there to when he left, it quadrupled. I mean, like there are a lot of examples to show that if you want to improve the arts, the culture, the vibe, businesses, and all that stuff, have a good football team. It goes a long way. Cole Eady. Hey, Cole. Hey, Trey. When Arkansas wins this game, how big of a win will it help in recruiting and NIL? Appreciate all the work you do. Best in the business. Appreciate you. How big of a win will it be and help with NIL? I mean, it's just given the nature of things, Cole, it's hard to say that. There will be visitors. Danny West has a visit list and everything on HawgSports, and there's going to be visitors for the game. But Arkansas has been taking a hit with losing players to recruiting. And, part of it is the state of Arkansas's program and the discussion around the country about Sam Pittman. But also it's about that green, man. It's about that money. And that's what it comes down to nowadays. Lane Kiffin was talking the other day before they played Arkansas about NIL and how it used to be like, what are you going to do to help my son graduate? And now it's like, how much is my son going to make? It's just different conversations now. It used to be about facilities, graduation, how you got along with the coaches and all that stuff. Now it's just like, what's the pay? What's the price? I'm going to be interested to see, with the calendar changing around so much like it has, what that does with like coaching changes and stuff, because it makes it easier now with it moving to January versus being in December. You lose your whole team and everybody else leaves. But I'm interested to see how that will impact things and how this clearinghouse stuff will impact it. Like how are you able to get money approved through the clearinghouse? Are they going to be strict or are they going to be very loose with it? Is it going to feel like there's bias, or is it going to be pretty consistent across college football? If they're strict with it, that's going to benefit Arkansas. If it's just like, hey, you have the $20.5 million, it'll be $18 million after the scholarships are taken care of, $18 million to spend on players, and NIL is going to be a thing, but it's not going to be as big. It's not going to be as important because we're really going to regulate it. Like you look around the country, like you see guys right now like making millions of dollars. You see a bunch of commercials with these guys sponsoring different stuff. I mean, and I know there's charitable events and stuff. Like you don't see that kind of stuff. So like if we're talking about fair market value, I don't understand how you can say, well, this offensive lineman coming out of high school is worth $1 million. He's not very good. He's not a very good speaker, but he can play. The bottom line is he's worth $1 million because he can play football for you and help you win games. It's not because he can sell soda. So are they going to crack down on that kind of stuff? It remains to be seen. And if they do, I think it'll benefit Arkansas. I think some of the changes coming up, can definitely change the whole landscape of football. And a lot of it depends right now if Arkansas is on top of it, if they can capitalize on the changes, or if they're going to get left behind like they too commonly do. Why is the defense lacking so much effort? Not all of them, but you got to have 11. Heart. Going 100 miles an hour goes a long way. Rebounding is an attitude. Defense is an attitude. Obviously, there's do your job. Don't try to do more than you're supposed to do. But playing with tenacity goes a long way. And Arkansas likes that. Not everybody. There are players on defense that give everything they got. But you have to have 11 doing it. Philly Hawk says, why can't we have nice things? 100%. Why can't Arkansas, Danny West said to me one time, why can't Arkansas just beat teams like they're supposed to, like G5 or, FCS teams? Why can't they just do that? He's right. Whiskey Drunk says, when does the SEC Associate Commissioner for Football hire get announced asking for a foe? Now they have actually, I was wrong on this, and I need to correct myself. Let me see this real quick and this was announced at, okay, so we were talking about, some stuff with hiring and, why isn't the football stadium been named? But this is from Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Devontae Higginbotham and Sydney Limmerhirt. Sorry. Were hired. So Higginbotham was hired as the department's name, image, and likeness strategist, while Lemon here, sorry, it's a difficult name, joined the staff as an associate director of player relations. I believe there's still one more position to hire. So those have been. So correction on my part. Eldo Bassmaster says, what would be the most Arkansas thing to happen in this game? Well, to give it away at the end, to take a big lead and give it up. That's been very common for Arkansas. I mean, that would be the most Arkansas thing. Having said that, like, another very Arkansas thing, right when we've written them off, right when we've already started talking about Sam Pittman job security and stuff, would be to like blast Notre Dame. That would be, when you think you know everything in college football, sometimes you can really get humbled. So that would be very Arkansas also. So would be giving up a big lead or feeling like they're going to, like, wow, they showed us wrong, and then the second half comes around, that kind of stuff. Something like that could absolutely happen. Hey, I want to tell you about our buddies over at Walker Brothers. You looking for clothes? You live somewhere aside from Northwest Arkansas, it's hard to find in Arkansas a really nice top-of-the-line men's store where you can get a tailored suit, you can get really nice golf gear, even stuff with like logos, like Crazy Hog logos, curly tail logos. On Peter Millar, you can get the curly tail stuff, which is their signature logo. On Peter Millar, Johnny O, Horns 11, Divot Sportswear, really nice brands, and shoes, colognes, just about everything. You should see this place. You go in, get you a beer, get you a bourbon or something, do some shopping, sit around. They got a lounge, TVs. I mean, it is a spacious place at their new place in Rogers, 3503 South 55th Street, Suite 101, and their location in Fayetteville. They've been there for as long as I can remember, really, 577 Millsap Road, Suite number 6 in Fayetteville. But the new store over in Rogers is really something else. Both of them are fantastic stores. I usually go to the Fayetteville store because I live in Fayetteville, but I visited the Rogers store not long ago and spent a good bit over there, and came out with some really nice clothes. Basically redid a bunch of golf stuff because I was wearing this sunscreen, and whatever brand it was just ruined a few shirts of mine. So I needed some golf gear. So I bought some shirts, some Peter Millar, which I really like. I think it's a really classy look. So go check out our friends over at Walker Brothers. There's nothing like it in Northwest Arkansas. It is an elite men's store, and you just can't find, there's plenty of places, I guess, for ladies to shop, but there's not a lot of that for men. Men don't always get taken care of in this world. So it's good to see that somebody's looking out for us over at Walker Brothers. How many viewers we got? Almost 1,400. 1,000 on Twitter right now. We got some more questions we're going to get to. We're not done with you yet. Hogtalica says, what is your assessment of the team's overall strength and conditioning? Well, Sam Pittman did mention, they hadn't practiced in a lot of heat, and that was a bit of a concern. But I always think you get out in the heat when you can. I know that, when you got a couple weeks leading up to the game, all right, let's get the legs back. But to me, I do think Arkansas practices indoors a little bit too much. They've got that air conditioning and stuff now. I'm not saying that's a reason that they faltered in the second half. I just – it's different now. I tell the story all the time about my dad when he was at the University of Georgia. After a practice one time, he drank water out of a mud puddle. That was back when water was a reward. People would drop tremendous amounts of weight during practice back in those days. You get to the season, you just hobble. Everybody's hobbling in. And then they, hey, maybe what if we came into the season fresh and we took care of our guys? Didn't have people dying of heat stroke and stuff. Goodness. But I do feel like, and it was just kind of a weird year this year. They practiced in the morning a lot. it was a lot of cool temperatures. I mean, there was a good stretch where it never hit 80 degrees by the start of practice. So could be something to that. P. Denton 29 says, what do you think is the hardest thing for these coaches to accomplish, getting the players to understand and execute the game plan, or getting the players to play with max effort? It seems like on defense it's been max effort. Offensively, I think Talon just has a tendency here and there to lock onto a guy. He hits lapses, but there are other times where he just looks unstoppable. Like, he was unstoppable against Ole Miss. The reason they lost the game is because they fumbled it. They could not stop him. But sometimes on defense, it looks like they are confused and not giving everything they got. I mean, I know it. I see players jogging. Like, you should never jog. There should never be a play that's downfield or something, and you're just like, somebody else will get this. Like, I'm reminded of a play. I think it was when Bobby Petrino was head coach here, and I can't even remember who they were playing, but it was like a group of 5 type of school. And I remember, this was back when your helmet got torn off. It didn't mean you had to stop. And I remember the long snapper, guys, was like, his helmet got ripped off. He's just hauling ass downfield and makes a tackle. I think a big hit and stuff. His helmet's off. Now I was just watching that play. It's like, man, that is effort right there. Like, this guy has no business going down and making a tackle, but that is effort. It's just what you have to do at this level. You have got to play with ridiculous level of tenacity. Burkus Maximus says, I expect Notre Dame to run it down our throats. Can we at least slow down the run game? Why do you think they would run it down their throats? What makes you think they could do that? Yeah, I mean, that's been a big concern. And now the linebackers aren't playing that great on top of it. Hogtalica, how much does a coaching change normally cost? Well, Sam Pittman's buyout's $10 million. You're talking about, some of the names that I've seen brought up amongst coaches. Buyouts, it depends on if you're hiring a guy like Clark Lee. I've seen his name brought up at Vanderbilt. Clark Lee's buyout's like $10 million. That's high for a coach leaving. Now, if they were to fire him, then usually that's going to be the big number. But when a coach opts to leave for another job, I mean, like I've seen, Will Stein's a younger guy. He's at Oregon. He's a coordinator. He has a buyout if he were to leave for another coordinator job that's pretty substantial for a coordinator. If he were to leave for a head coaching job, it's nothing. An FBS level head coaching job. So it just depends on what year the coach is in his contract. Obviously, if you start, very early in the contract, it's a lot more significant stuff. But you also got buyouts for coordinators and, on your own staff and stuff like that too. So it's hard to say what does a coaching change normally cost, because if you're Texas A&M, a coaching change costs $77 million guaranteed. They're paying him to 30 something, $7.7 million a year is what Jimbo Fisher gets from Texas A&M to not coach. Even if he takes another head coaching job, he's still getting that money. So, and that didn't include any of his coordinators and stuff that I assume also had buyouts. Hogtalica says that there have been changes to the Arkansas high school football policies that have kept the state from producing as many high-caliber SEC-level difference makers as it used to. No, Arkansas has just looked different directions and stuff. They don't pursue some of the in-state guys as heavily, and a lot of it is because a lot of the in-state guys have not produced when they've gotten to Arkansas versus, going and getting a kid from Georgia or Alabama and stuff, which they have put a bigger priority on. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just Arkansas. They may offer a guy, but they're not really – they don't seem to care if they get him or not, That's just the facts of it. Like, they have priorities elsewhere. If you look at most Arkansas teams that are great, then, they often have a lot of Arkansas guys in key roles. When you look at this team right now, who's from Arkansas? That's a big player for them. Quincy Rhodes. I mean, that's defense, right? Am I forgetting somebody? Charlie Collins, he's backup defensive end. Offensive line, anybody? Kobe Branham. We'll include Charlie Collins as he's a backup. Kobe Branham on the offensive line. Amarian Harris on the offensive line. Not quarterback. Braylon Russell at running back. C.J. Brown at wide receiver. 6 guys. Not a lot. I mean, I remember a few years ago, like that defensive line at Arkansas, when you had like all Arkansas guys. It was like Antoine Robinson and Keith Jackson Jr. and Marcus Harrison and, just a lot of Arkansas flavor. I mean, the other, I can't even remember who the other guy is off the top of my head right now. Sorry. I should remember that. Will Marcus Freeman still have a job if he loses to us? Yeah, Marcus Freeman is safe. Obviously, people will be upset and he'll, lose a portion of the fan base just like you do, but he's fine. They went to the national championship game, which people talk like Dabo Swinney. It's time for him to go, which is insane. Like, guys, that guy's got enough in the bank. Leave Dabo alone. Like, I get it. Like, if things continue to go down after years, but like the guy has how many national championships do you have, Clemson, since, you won it in 1980? Shout out Danny Ford. I mean, is Clemson used to winning like 8 out of 10 conference championships? And talking about firing Dabo because it hadn't been exactly what Arkansas fans would have killed for that. I know Clemson's on a different level. They've been winning. But just perspective. Arkansas fans don't ask for a lot while we're on the topic. What are Arkansas fans requesting? 8 wins? Like some fans be like, man, I think 7 wins would be okay. It's not like people are going, if he doesn't win 10, I don't even know. Unforgivable. Yes, sure, there are some like that, but those are the most radical people in the crowd. Like, we're talking about the fair and balanced Razorback fan, which most people are. They're just like, 7. Can we get to 8? What do you think? Heck, I can remember last year after Arkansas beat Tennessee, people were talking to me about how Arkansas's path to get to the college football playoff looked. I think we've covered it all. Well, I really appreciate everybody hopping on with us today. If you haven't given us that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we'd love to have that. Give us a like if you haven't done so. Thumbs up, whatever you do out there. I haven't given a score prediction on this one, but I did. I haven't finalized it yet, but I'm thinking somewhere probably in the 30s, low 30s, just like it's been, I guess, for Arkansas. But I'll give an edge to Notre Dame. Like, if I'm just saying off the top of my head, maybe it's like a 38, 31, something like that. Nothing would surprise me. I mean, I went into this season not knowing what to fully expect, which was why I said, because of how the season started off, there's 4-0 on the table, but they could just as easily go 2-2. That was what I laid out several different scenarios. That was scenario number 2 was them going 2-2. And I said, like, if that's the scenario that they have, then 4-8's definitely on the table. I mean, you look at the schedule that's coming up. So this is a big game for Sam Pittman. This is, in my opinion, the must win of Sam Pittman's career at Arkansas. This is the must win game for him. He cannot lose this game. That's what it is. All right, everybody. Thanks to Kevin Bohannan for joining us. Thanks to Connor Goodson for hopping on. Appreciate all of you guys and your support, whether you're a subscriber at HawgSports, which is $1 right now for your first month at HawgSports.com, or if you're a free user. We appreciate you coming on and supporting what we do, giving us that like, thumbs up, doing what you can. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time, Saturday afternoon, walking out of Donald W. Reynolds. It's not even Donald W. Reynolds. I don't know why we keep calling it that. It is Razorback Stadium without a sponsor for going on 2 years now. So We'll be walking out of Razorback Stadium with our thoughts and opinions on the game, probably huffing and puffing a little bit going up that hill. Don't hate on me too much. I'm trying. It's been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com. We'll catch you next time.